Welcome to Local Matters, the official Laverne podcast. I'm Ann Smith, Public Information Officer for the City of Laverne. Today I have with me Fire Chief Ronny Beasley and Deputy Fire Chief Nick Matthews. Chief Beasley has been with the city for almost 4 years, and Chief Matthews has been with Laverne since 1997 when the fire department was still private. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So for those who don't know, can you give a brief overview of the fire department's size and organizational structure?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The department's grown in the last few years. We've added some positions such as the deputy chief's position, a training officer, and an inspector. But currently we operate out of 3 fire stations with a total of 57 firefighters budgeted, and with hopefully a growth of an additional 6 in the next year. And we have a staff, an 8-hour staff of the fire chief, deputy chief, the executive administrative assistant, fire marshal, and 2 people that work for fire marshal's office, the inspector and the life safety officer. So it's grown. We've had great opportunities in the last 4 years that have definitely helped the department.
And so how does the day-to-day kind of look for your firefighters? And do they do training while they're on their shifts? And how does that look for them?
Well, day-to-day starts every morning at 6 o'clock with we call it a pass-along or a pass-off, where one shift will meet with the other shift and talk about what happened, anything that's broken, anything they need to do, any pressing matters. And then they start their truck checkoffs, which could take 10 minutes to an hour, depends on who's doing them. There's always some kind of training of some sort scheduled during the day, whether it's company-wide or department training or individual station training. We've been working a lot recently with the new recruits. That's about it. I mean, answer calls as they come in.
So what kind of calls do you typically see come in from the 911 center?
Most of the calls that we receive are medical calls. Probably 85% of all the calls that we respond to are medical calls, followed up by alarms and car wrecks, and fires would be the minimum, but they're the most important to us.
It's important to note that we don't have a lot of structure fires.
That's a good thing, yes. Our fire prevention department, community risk reduction department, does a good job of preparing the public what to do if something like that happens, or building construction's gotten a lot better over the years. They don't happen quite as often, but when they do, they go up a lot quicker. Yeah, we don't have very many, but when we do, they're important.
Very interestingly, when you look at the run report itself, and then you see the response time of the fire companies, the times that when they receive the call from the alarm office, the dispatch center, the time they acknowledge it, to the time that the wheels are moving on the fire truck, to the time that they're on the scene, meets or exceeds or beats the NFPA standard 100% of the time in the city. And that is extremely unique. That is a lot of credit to the company officers that are pushing those firefighters in that professional aspect. When that call comes in, we're moving. And where that comes into play, there's a direct correlation to that response, that response time, and to property loss. Most of our fires are contained to what we would consider a room and contents. It's 1 bedroom, a living room. Occasionally something will get out of that aspect and we'll have, a significant structure. But for the most part, we're dealing with a room and contents fire, and that is all contributing to those fast response times. It's remarkable without question.
Do you know what our average response time is?
It varies every month, but it's never exceeded 4 minutes.
Okay. So essentially what that means is once a 911 call comes in, it's 4 minutes until the fire crew is on the scene.
The first fire crew.
The first one.
And then by the insurance service office, which is where some insurance companies utilize the data from that to determine your fire insurance rate, would come from some of that. And all responding companies must be on the scene within 9 minutes. And we meet that, I would not say 100% of the time, because there are the outliers on the far end of Waldron Road or on Jones Mill. But we're very close to it most of the time.
And speaking of ISO, we have a new ISO rating within, I think it's been, 6 or 8 months since they lowered our rating?
I believe it's pushing on just about a year.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just about a year when we received our official letter from VRISC, or the Insurance Service Office, and we have obtained a 2. We've improved it. Initially, I believe we were a 5 when we came from the private department, and then when we became municipal government department, the city purchased the fire department as a whole. They increased their staffing levels, the equipment purchases, the training levels went up, so they increased that to a 3. And then most recently, we've improved to a 2.
And so what does that mean for the resident? What does that mean that we have an ISO 2?
It's not a guarantee, but many insurance companies would use that number as a basis of how you achieve or how high or low your insurance rate is on your homeowner's insurance. So, my recommendation would be to contact your insurer and ask if they utilize the Insurance Service Office rating, public protection classification, as a marker for them, and many do.
So you said we have 3 fire stations, which I know they're on. 41's on Stones River Road, 42 is on Waldron by the interstate, and 43 is on Bill Stewart. These are strategically placed to provide coverage across our city, right?
That's correct.
So when you were deciding on where to put our new project, Station 41, what went into that decision to put it on Old Nashville Highway?
Well, to be honest, the main reason was real estate. We looked at several locations. We had to be centrally located. We didn't want to move too far out to hurt our response times, to the center of town. So we kept it central, but there just wasn't a lot of real estate available. And the city had already owned the the Civic Auditorium, and it was an easy choice. Once we moved our admin offices there, we were there 4 years, and there's been a lot of times where we'll pull out of the station and turn right, go into Nashville Highway, and as soon as we do, the arms go down and the trains come in. We have to back up, which takes time, especially if there's traffic. And with the new station, we could see that coming and take the underpass route.
With that big project, the new Station 41, we've been working on that project for a little over a year. Where are we in that process? When are we expecting to be done?
If I was to put a percentage on it, I'm guessing about 60, 75% close to being finished.
But that's the hard part, too.
Well, it's I think the most painful part of the whole process was getting going. The dirt work, we discovered things that were unknowns about the property itself. There were sinkholes that had to be taken care of. We didn't know there was a basement underneath the Civic Auditorium or the Civic building that we were working in every single day. It had a basement under it, and that all has to be remediated. So there was things that had to happen during that period that we really didn't anticipate. And talking with our architect, typically that getting out of the ground phase is the slowest and the most painful. And it proved true with us, and it took a little bit of time. But once that concrete slab went down, you started feeling a little better about it. But when they started putting structural members up, blocks on the walls, and then the brick facade on the on the building, now you have sheetrock in the building. Those things are really starting to move fast, and I think it just becomes more reality at that point that we are getting close. So we're at the stages now that you'll see concrete poured in the front next week, weather permitting. And some of the landscaping, or at least the grading of the surface, is going to be taken care of in the next few days. Ceilings put in, some of the flooring surfaces. I think this last month and a half, 2 months will be exceptionally quick for us, and I think that's when, frankly, it kind of makes me nervous. I'm more nervous about this part because now I got to go find all of the small things that Chief Matthews is working on. We got the furniture ordered, but garbage cans and small things that you really got to go room by room to specify what you need, and those things I'm like, man, I know we're going to miss a lot of things in this final run to the end.
When do you think we'll have the station opening?
Well, we're shooting for July, honestly. The big thing holding us up right now are the doors on the front. They're custom bifold doors, and they're supposed to be shipped around mid-June, somewhere around in there. So however long that takes to get them in there, we'll be ready after that.
So you guys were just at the recruit class, actually. We're nearing the end of this particular recruit class, correct?
Yes.
When are they expected to graduate?
It's scheduled for April 29th.
So this is our third recruit class, is that correct? Third or fourth? Third? Typically, we would farm those out to different municipalities, correct? And now we're starting to host our own recruit classes internally.
City of Laverne has historically hired people from numerous categories. We would hire credentialed people that had the necessary certificates and training to go straight to work into the department. They come in and get a refresher class and go to work. They have hired some with the minimum qualifications. 64 hours is the minimum qualification, along with doing a live burn training exercise to actually fight fire. That's required for a volunteer firefighter all the way up, with us as a paid department. But in the last 3 years or 2 years, we've really concentrated on hiring firefighters that will take a certified firefighter. Be glad to have a certified firefighter with the credentials that we can put them straight to work. Obviously, it puts individuals in fire trucks a lot sooner and could potentially be less expensive on us. But our goal with hiring a recruit class with somebody that is not certified is hopefully for retention. If you have somebody that's looking for a career, looking for something that they can make an impact on a municipality, a city itself, and then looking for great benefits. If somebody that wants a long-term career with benefits along the way, that's would be why we would want to hire a recruit. And we're seeing the numbers of people leaving the department would be less in that category of hire versus a credentialed firefighter. The credentialed firefighter makes a direct impact much sooner, a positive impact. But we also know that across this region, in this state, and in the entire United States, there's a recruitment and retention issue within the fire service, and individuals will have more information to them that they've ever had. 1992, when I was hired as a firefighter, I didn't know, I had no access to information that I could get a job in Jackson, Tennessee. There was no means for me to know that there was an availability of a job over there. And so with today's technology, social media, it's out there every single day of job posting. So you see something that may meet your goals or needs, and it's a much simpler process than it used to be. And so that the desire or our intent is to hire the recruits and then train them to the way the Laverne Fire Department does business, and then hopefully have them in our culture here, and then maybe retain that employee a little better.
So what does the recruit class kind of look like? What is the process they go through? How long is it?
It's roughly 10 weeks, give or take, depending on weather, or because there's a lot of stuff they have to do outside. Live burns, we have to coordinate. We've been lucky to partner up with the City of Murfreesboro Fire to use their training grounds for our live burns, and it's been a great help for us. But just coordinating with them, sometimes, it could be, as long as you're planning it out, it's fine. The perfect class is 10 weeks and you're out. But they go through the entire process that they would at the academy. We're just doing it in-house, and probably a little better.
So I know that we're also doing a new trial schedule for our shifts for our firefighters. Typically they work a 24 hours on, 48 hours off schedule. Tell me about the new one and the hour changes and how that's going to affect our firefighters.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. And that is a hot topic in the fire service nationwide. The 48-96 schedule brings a lot of benefit to the employee. Most of that benefit, if almost not all of that benefit, falls into the employee category. when you have departments such as ours, and you have an area such as Rutherford County, the expense of homes and real estate in these areas are sometimes hard to manage for a young person. And so most of our employees will live some distance from their city. And so this would reduce their drive times in half in a month. Obviously reduces their cost of their fuel, time, and vehicle wear and tear. There is a theory that would build more team cohesiveness, being together for 48 hours. It provides more time at home in consecutive days. There is also research that shows that this is a much healthier shift schedule for sleep patterns, to where you have that opportunity to go home after your second shift, and then that night you're back in your bed for 4 days straight. Then you come to the fire station and you have 2 days here, then 4 days straight back at home. So most of those benefits will all, if not all the benefits, fall onto the employee itself, the firefighter. This schedule came about because of those reasons. For cities that firefighters had a significant drive to get to work. On the admin side, it's just going to take a little bit more work from us. Having stronger communication models. We're working on some things with our computer softwares that we use that will maybe put us a dashboard up to where small messages can be distributed, because we can go several days without seeing these individuals. So, it's going to make a little more work for us, but we're committed to do that and make it work if this turns out to be a positive. Again, it's a trial period or a pilot program. We're going to run it for 2.5, almost 3 months. We have a survey that came in before this, and then we're going to spend time with each of the firefighters and groups and discuss the positives and the negatives and try to get a real understanding of how the department feels about it. And then we'll have some surveys that go out to substantiate that with true data. It's critical for us to understand our employee needs and what benefits them as well as what benefits the city. There's a zero cost effect to this for the fire department. There are some cities that have showed a decrease in OJIs and sick leave occurrences. So, that could...
OJIs, on-job incidents?
On-the-job injuries, yep.
Injuries.
So there are opportunities for maybe a benefit into the budget for the city itself. But that's all yet to be seen. We do a lot of research before we implement something like this, and a lot of studies throughout the United States, and we'll see how this turns out. I'm optimistic about it.
Well, I'm sure that's a big change for firefighters who are used to 1 day on and 2 days off.
Well, interestingly enough, when the city purchased Laverne Fire Incorporated, they were working 48 on, 48 off. Mm. And so for those individuals who are here during that time period, this should be even better for them. That just 10 years ago they were working 48, and now they'll have 4 days off consecutively. And it still turns out to be roughly 10 days a month. It's 2,900 hours a year. And a regular Monday through Friday employee works 22,080 hours a year. So our 56-hour work week still remains the same. So we're not getting any less work out of them. I know 4 days sounds like, what's that mean? To me, working Monday through Friday. So for the citizen that hears that and says, they get 4 days off, they're still working a 56-hour work week versus the 40-hour work week that you and I work.
So anticipated, there's not going to be a change in service either. They're just working longer hours.
That's correct.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining me today. We've been talking with Fire Chief Ronny Beasley and Deputy Fire Chief Nick Matthews. For more information on the new fire station or on our fire department, visit fire.lavernetn.gov. Until next time, I'm Ann Smith. Thanks for joining us.